Ladies and gentlemen, today we delve into the poignant and tragic story of Wanrong, the last empress of China. Her life, filled with grandeur and sorrow, mirrors the tumultuous history of early 20th century China. Wanrong's journey from a privileged upbringing to the hollow grandeur of the Forbidden City and her eventual downfall is a tale of both personal and historical significance. Join me as we explore the detailed biography of Empress Wanrong, whose life is a testament to the complexities and tragedies of a bygone era. Wanrong was born on November 13, 1906, in Beijing, China, into the illustrious Goburoo clan, a Manchu aristocratic family. Her full name was Goburoo Wanrong. She was the daughter of Rong Yuan, a high-ranking official in the Qing Dynasty's Ministry of Internal Affairs, which ensured that Wanrong enjoyed a privileged upbringing. Her early years were marked by the comforts and advantages that came with her family's status. Educated in both traditional Chinese and Western subjects, Wanrong was a bright and cultured young woman. Her father, who had studied abroad, believed in the importance of a modern education. Consequently, Wanrong was exposed to Western literature, arts, and languages, which was quite progressive for women of her time. She was known for her beauty, grace, and intelligence, attributes that would later make her a suitable candidate for the Empress of China. In 1922, at the age of 16, Wanrong's life took a dramatic turn. The deposed Emperor Puyi, who had been forced to abdicate the throne in 1912 following the Xinhai Revolution, was seeking a bride. Despite the end of the Qing Dynasty, Puyi continued to hold a symbolic position within the walls of the Forbidden City, where he was still revered as the emperor. Wanrong was selected to be his empress, a role that came with immense pressure and expectations. Their marriage was a political arrangement, designed to reinforce the traditional authority of the deposed imperial family. The wedding, held in the Forbidden City, was a grand and elaborate affair, filled with the splendor and ceremony befitting an empress. However, behind the opulent facade, the marriage was far from ideal. Puyi, who had been enthroned as a child, was emotionally distant and preoccupied with his own struggles to retain relevance in a rapidly changing China. Wanrong, meanwhile, found herself trapped in the rigid confines of court life, isolated from the world outside the palace walls. In 1924, Puyi and Wanrong were expelled from the Forbidden City by the warlord Pho Nghi. The couple moved to Tianjin, where they lived in relative comfort but with diminished status. During this period, Wanrong attempted to adapt to a more modern lifestyle, engaging in social activities and embracing Western fashion and customs. However, her relationship with Puyi remained strained. He spent much of his time engrossed in his own pursuits, leaving Wanrong increasingly isolated. The situation worsened in 1931 when Puyi was installed as the puppet emperor of Manchukuo, a Japanese-controlled state in Manchuria. Wanrong, now the Empress of Manchukuo, was once again thrust into a role of superficial grandeur. The Japanese used Puyi and Wanrong as figureheads to legitimize their control over the region. Life in Manchukuo was marked by strict supervision and constant surveillance by the Japanese authorities. Wanrong's freedom was severely restricted, and her dissatisfaction grew. The pressures and confinements of her role, combined with Puyi's continued neglect, took a heavy toll on Wanrong's mental health. She turned to opium as a means of escape, a decision that would have devastating consequences. Her addiction to the drug quickly spiraled out of control, leading to further isolation and deterioration of her physical and mental well-being. Despite her efforts to maintain the appearance of an empress, Wanrong's life was falling apart behind the scenes. By 1945, with the defeat of Japan in World War II, Manchukuo collapsed. Puyi was captured by Soviet forces, and Wanrong, along with other members of the imperial household, was taken into custody. Her final years were marked by hardship and suffering. She was imprisoned and faced harsh conditions, which further exacerbated her fragile state. Wanrong's health declined rapidly, and she succumbed to illness and malnutrition. She died in a prison camp in Yanji, Jilin, in June 1946, at the age of 39. Her death was a tragic and ignominious end for a woman who had once held the title of Empress. The story of Wanrong is a reflection of the dramatic transformations that China underwent in the early 20th century. Her life, from the grandeur of the Forbidden City to the desolation of a prison camp, mirrors the rise and fall of the Qing Dynasty in the turbulent political landscape of the era. Wanrong's personal struggles and tragic end highlight the human cost of these historical upheavals. Wanrong's legacy is a complex one. While she is often remembered as the tragic last empress of China, her life also offers insights into the roles and expectations placed upon women in the imperial court, the impact of addiction, and the personal toll of political turmoil. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of human dignity amidst the forces of history, the tragic life of Wanrong. The last Empress of China serves as a powerful symbol of the tumultuous era in which she lived. Her story continues to resonate not only because of the dramatic shifts in Chinese history but also due to the personal struggles she endured. Wanrong's life was one of contrasts, privilege and isolation, grandeur and despair, tradition and modernity. Her journey reflects the broader societal transformations of early 20th century China, marked by the fall of the Qing Dynasty, the rise of republicanism, and the incursion of foreign powers. Wanrong's early life in the privileged circles of Manchu aristocracy provided her with opportunities that were uncommon for many women of her time. Her education, which included Western subjects, showcased the gradual opening up of Chinese society to foreign influences. However, this early promise was overshadowed by her marriage to Puyi, a union that was more political than personal. The marriage exemplified the traditional Confucian values that placed duty and family honor above personal happiness, trapping Wanrong in a life that offered little personal fulfillment. As Empress, Wanrong's life within the Forbidden City was a gilded cage. The isolation and rigid court protocols were suffocating. And her husband's emotional detachment only added to her loneliness. The Forbidden City, once a symbol of imperial power and majesty, became a place of confinement and despair for her. This period of her life highlights the often unseen and unspoken sufferings of women in royal courts, bound by tradition and expectations that left little room for personal agency. The move to Tianjin and later to Manchukuo brought new challenges and further isolation. Despite attempts to adapt to a more modern and social lifestyle in Tianjin, Wanrong found little solace. Her role as the Empress of Manchukuo under Japanese occupation was a farce, a facade maintained to lend legitimacy to a puppet state. The strict supervision and constant surveillance by the Japanese authorities left her feeling powerless and alone, further deepening her sense of entrapment. Wanrong's turn to opium was a desperate bid for escape from her harsh realities. Her addiction, while tragic, sheds light on the wider issue of opium in China during that period. The drug, which had been a tool of subjugation used by foreign powers during the Opium Wars, continued to wreak havoc on Chinese society. Wanrong's addiction and its devastating effects were emblematic of the broader national struggle with opium and its destructive consequences. The final chapter of Wanrong's life, marked by her imprisonment and untimely death, was a heart-wrenching end to a life of privilege turned to despair. Her death in a prison camp, far from the imperial splendor of her early years, underscores the brutal realities of political upheaval and war. It also reflects the human cost of these historical transformations, as individuals, especially women, were often caught in the crossfire of larger political and social changes. Wanrong's legacy is multifaceted. On one hand, she is remembered as the tragic last empress of a fallen dynasty, a symbol of the end of imperial China. On the other hand, her life story provides valuable insights into the human side of historical events. Her struggles with isolation, addiction, and the loss of autonomy resonate with universal themes of suffering and resilience. In literature, film, and historical studies, Wanrong's life continues to captivate and inspire. Her story has been depicted in numerous books and movies, each attempting to capture the complex emotions and experiences of a woman caught between worlds. These portrayals help to humanize the grand narratives of history, reminding us that behind every major historical event are real people with real struggles. Moreover, Wanrong's story serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of absolute power and the human cost of political machinations. Her life invites us to reflect on the roles of women in history and the often overlooked personal dimensions of political change. It also encourages a deeper understanding of the impacts of addiction and the societal conditions that foster it. In conclusion, the life of Wanrong, the last empress of China, is a poignant reminder of the complexities and tragedies that define our shared human experience. From the opulent halls of the Forbidden City to the grim realities of imprisonment, her journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit amidst adversity. Her story, steeped in both historical significance and personal tragedy, continues to resonate, offering valuable lessons and reflections on the nature of power, identity, and endurance. Thank you for joining me in this detailed exploration of Wanrong's life. Her legacy, marked by both grandeur and profound sorrow, will forever serve as a window into the intricate tapestry of Chinese history and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Wanrong's addiction and its devastating effects were emblematic of the broader national struggle with opium and its destructive consequences. The final chapter of Wanrong's life, marked by her imprisonment and untimely death, was a heart-wrenching end to a life of privilege turned to despair. Her death in a prison camp, far from the imperial splendor of her early years, underscores the brutal realities of political upheaval and war. It also reflects the human cost of these historical transformations, as individuals, especially women, were often caught in the crossfire of larger political and social changes. Wanrong's legacy is multifaceted. On one hand, she is remembered as the tragic last empress of a fallen dynasty, a symbol of the end of imperial China. On the other hand, her life story provides valuable insights into the human side of historical events. Her struggles with isolation, addiction, and the loss of autonomy resonate with universal themes of suffering and resilience. In literature, film, and historical studies,